All right. Well, hello and welcome to EllieMD's live educational series. We're so glad you're here because at EllieMD, we go beyond telehealth. We're building a space for real conversations, science-backed guidance, and personalized care that empowers you to take control of your health and longevity journey. Today, we're excited to welcome back Dr. Jason Pencek, a board certified nurse practitioner and chiropractor who blends traditional and integrative medicine to deliver whole person care. Dr. Pencek began his career in nursing and went on to pursue advanced training in chiropractic medicine, peptide therapy, hormone optimization, and longevity treatments. With over a decade of experience and a strong clinical focus on GLP-1 based therapies, his practice is rooted in helping patients improve metabolic health, lose weight sustainably, and live longer, stronger lives. Jason, welcome, 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 welcome back. For people who are just tuning in for the first time, do you mind introducing yourself and just tell
Sure.
us a little about yourself, your background, what led you to become interested in longevity, wellness? Give us
Of
a
course. Yeah, honey, let's see here. So I started years ago figuring out that I was working as a nurse in Western medicine and realized that um, it just didn't work, unfortunately. We weren't seeing improvements in patients. There was just fixing symptoms and nothing actually got better. And I figured there had to be a better way to treat disease and to treat patients in general. So I decided that I should try something different. I found chiropractic medicine and realized quickly adjusting in functional medicine and supplements wasn't going to work for me and realized I needed more. So I went back and got my nurse practitioner degree and got the ability to prescribe and use injectables. And I started using IV therapy at the beginning of my practice and again learned that wasn't enough for me. So I wanted to start something else. Moved into hormone replacement therapy, do a lot of that in practice now. And then we moved into peptides. My friends joke that they wanted to get ripped and really jacked. And I looked up growth hormone and accidentally found CJC 1295 and nipamorelin. And now we're doing things like tesamorelin and nipamorelin, all sorts of fun growth hormones in our practice. And once I found the growth hormone peptides, I fell in love with peptide medicine. What I like about peptides is there are these small molecules, a bunch of amino acids put together as building blocks. Basically, we call them mini proteins for people that are a little confused. And these mini proteins just nudge the system in the right direction. They just move you in a very calm and easy way to the next level. So if you want to improve anything, I always joke there's a peptide for that. It doesn't matter what it is. If you come to me and say this is going on, it's very likely I'll have some sort of peptide solution to treat you. And peptides have become a staple of my practice. I saw a bunch of patients today, and every single one of them was recommended some kind of peptide, with my GLP-1s being probably the number one thing that I use in practice. They work so well for longevity and health and weight loss that I really just can't say enough good things about them.
Hmm. Well, we loved your talk last week. It was fantastic. For anyone who missed it, make sure you go back and play the replay about tesamorelin and ipamorelin. We're going to get into that. This conversation is really around peptides that pair well with GLPs, or if anyone's on their GLP-1 journey, what other peptides can they use? So we're going to do a deep dive in those types of conversations. But you've had your own phenomenal transformation. I saw the picture, and so you said that you had used some of these growth hormone peptides, and we'll get into all of that. But let's start with GLPs. So, for anyone who's new to GLP-1s on their GLP-1 journey, can you give us a brief overview of what GLP-1s are and how do they work with the body?
Yeah, we make GLP-1s naturally. Glucagon-like peptide 1 is made in our pancreas. They mimic a hormone that we naturally make. Every time we eat, we release GLP-1s naturally. They are what help control insulin levels in the body. They work at slowing down digestion, make you feel full longer. They basically help you with cravings. So they do a lot of things. They improve insulin sensitivity. They really help with the glucose spikes post-meal. They help basically improve overall, ability to burn more fat, have fat oxidation. The idea is that we naturally release these GLP-1s on our own. This is a very natural thing that occurs. The only difference between what we naturally make and what we are seeing in pharmaceutical industry now with the semaglutide and tirzepatide is these are longer lasting. GLP-1s in our body naturally last a few minutes, right? So there are products that can increase GLP-1s naturally. Akkermansia is a probiotic that increases GLP-1. There's a product called Curb, which can improve GLP-1 production by 6x, which is great. It's really amazing they do this. Unfortunately, they last minutes, right? So the fact that these last so little means you're taking these things around the clock to get anything close to what a GLP-1 such as semaglutide or tirzepatide can bring to you. The semaglutide and tirzepatide are going to last days. So these are going to last your system for a much longer time, which gives the ability to make larger differences, right? Taking Akkermansia, this has been around for a long time, and all of a sudden became a new buzzword for a probiotic. It became a buzzword because we have GLP-1s in the market, such as tirzepatide and semaglutide. So I'm a big fan of using the GLP-1s. They last longer. They also have a logarithmic curve of how much you provide. So, you might give a, again, probiotic like Akkermansia and have some improvement in GLP-1, but the amount you get compared to how much semaglutide, tirzepatide can put out is just completely, 10x, 100x more. So you get way more in the system. And again, we see all these benefits from being on GLP-1s, and we see lots and lots of studies showing all the benefits we have, longevity, and the reasons we want them. So there are numerous reasons why I use GLP-1s in practice. I had a patient yesterday who came into my office, and I talked to her, and I saw her lipids were off. She had high CRP, which is inflammatory markers. She also had insulin sensitivity going on, so she had a high hemoglobin A1C, which means her blood sugar wasn't great. And even if she didn't walk into that office wanting to be put on something for weight loss or to use something for weight loss, I immediately would use the GLP-1. Hey, I want to fix your inflammation. Done, GLP-1. Hey, I want to help your cholesterol levels. Well, I don't really want to use a statin. What other options do I have? GLP-1, right? So we're seeing these things replace typical drugs that are being used in the industry, um, and they're making better metabolic health, right? The only thing we care about, really, ultimately, I care about is metabolic health. Now, I understand people have to care about the weight. They want to lose weight. Now, I always tell people there's all these amazing benefits, and I've been using GLP-1s for 6 years before semaglutide or tirzepatide were on the market. I used liraglutide. There wasn't that much weight loss, but I still used it because the metabolic effects were so great that I said it doesn't matter if there's weight loss. All these things are great. Now, the bonus of weight loss is why we've gotten millions and millions and millions more people involved, because all of a sudden we have something you can lose 15 to 23% of your weight. Well, that's going to get everyone interested. So.
Now, there's a lot of companies out there nowadays advertising nature's Ozempic, and there's famous families that have come up with their supplementation. Can you quickly speak? Because I get this message all the time. Does this actually work? Can you mention something about that? Nature's
Mm.
Ozempic. Is there such a thing besides protein?
I mean, yeah, I get that comment all the time. I made a couple videos on this on Instagram. Um, as I said, Akkermansia does increase GLP-1 production. Okay,
Sure.
so does this product called Curb, which uses not wheat germ. There's something I can't remember the product, what that's actually in it, but Curb also increases GLP-1. Look, this is great. Like I said, it does increase GLP-1. Natural GLP-1 lasts for minutes. Again, minutes. GLP-1s we get from semaglutide and tirzepatide last days. So it's that long-lasting effect that gives the results. Now, could Akkermansia potentially help some inflammation minorly? Maybe a little bit, right? Patients I know have gotten on Akkermansia, Curb, and they do report slightly better results. But the lab data supports semaglutide and tirzepatide. So what I care about is lab data. When you come in with a high, what's called a CRP, which is basically an inflammation marker we see in practice. When this level's high, if I give a GLP-1 to a patient, I see a drop down. I don't see that with an Akkermansia or Curb. So the lab data better supports your semaglutide, tirzepatide over giving the natural ones. And I'm not saying the natural ones won't work. I talked yesterday about butyrate. Butyrate's an actual short chain fatty acid. Works really well for gut healing. It can improve gut lining. It can also improve leaky gut some. It also helps increase GLP-1 production. I'm using it with my GLP-1s. So it's going to provide more natural GLP-1 on top of what I'm doing. Am I using it for the GLP-1 production? Not really, but it can improve that. But again, we're talking minutes. Honey, that's the thing. It's such a short use case when you give the natural products. They're not wrong. They do increase it, but it is very deceptive marketing when they say it's increasing your GLP-1, and people come and say, I can take this GLP-1. My God, I'm going to lose all this weight. I'm going to feel great. And they get it and they're like, I've been on for 3 months and I can't say anything different. Well, yeah, of course not. It's not as strong. There is a reason why the pharmaceutical industry has taken some things and made drugs out of them. Metformin was a Lilly, I want to say, found in, I can't remember what country it was, France maybe. And metformin was previously a supplement. And then they made a drug out of it. And all of a sudden, the drug works way better than the other product. And I'm sorry, but like this is where, as much as I hate pharmaceutical industry so much and I get so frustrated with what they do, but this is one area they did a good job. They knocked it out of the park and actually found something that really does work. And for the first time, found something that actually can help heal patients. This is the problem everyone gets frustrated with the medical industry for. We put on drugs and we don't come off forever. Hey, and it's not fixing. It's the next symptom. What's the next symptom? What's the next symptom? We finally found something such as GLP-1s, which can start healing the underlying issue, which is metabolic disease. 70% of America people have being overweight. 42% roughly are obese. This is metabolic disease at its finest. So if I can start working with the patient to heal metabolic disease, I always say GLP-1s are your training wheels. They're going to go on to get you to the next step. I don't want you on it forever for weight loss because that's absurd. There's no way it's going to work forever for weight loss. Also, I want to actually heal you. Now, do I recommend low dose GLPs for my patients? I'm on a GLP-1. I take semaglutide. I will take it forever because the long-term data supports it. Am I using it to treat, weight loss for the next, 10 years? No, absolutely not. So we do see an end point when it comes to weight loss. But metabolic health is so important. And as we age, the longevity curve is just straight down, right? And so we want to bring this stuff back up and we want to improve things like insulin sensitivity, cholesterol. I want to improve, the way my brain is functioning. I want to improve inflammation markers. Women out there, once you go through menopause, your inflammatory markers go up. Interleukin 6, interleukin 1 beta, TNF alpha. These are just words for most of you, but they are inflammatory cytokines which raise inflammation in the whole body. This is why you go through menopause and feel like garbage. You lose estrogen. Once you lose estrogen, you're going to start feeling a lot more aches and pains in general. You can get estrogen back, which is great, but the levels we get back still don't get to the point where you were when you were in your 20s and 30s. Now, you can give a GLP-1 on top of this, and all of a sudden these inflammatory markers come right down. And again, you could talk about diet all you want. Take out all the foods that we're eating. Take all the things that we shouldn't be eating. Of course, I think gluten, dairy, eggs, the top three allergens. I do try cutting those out of patients' diet, right? And I am recommending these diet changes for patients. I'm doing food sensitivity if a patient wants it. But ultimately, even after you account for all of these these cytokines are still staying up. So what fixes this? We magically bring in GLP-1s, and GLP-1s can bring these levels down. So I do have a lot of belief in long-term use of these for patients that are just inflamed. Again, my postmenopausal women are some of the best clients to be on this long-term. They see long-term benefits and they feel absolutely wonderful, even with hormones being on board.
So we get a lot of questions about safety, that
Yeah.
you're putting patients at risk and these medications are not safe. Do you mind just touching on safety of these medications and the studies that are out there?
Yeah. There are, I want to kind of go through the risk benefits, right? So the benefits of lower risk of cardiovascular disease by 30%. We have a decreased risk of Alzheimer's. We have a decreased risk of Parkinson's. We have a decreased risk of cancer. If I can get you to lose 10 pounds, I have a 10% relative risk reduction of cancer, right? So those simple things right there should be enough to say, yeah, this is pretty impressive. Now, the risks, because we want to do risk reward benefit here. We really understand why we want to be on these long term. There is a slight increased risk of pancreatitis. It is small, I believe like 0.2 to 0.5%. There is a slight increased risk of medical gastroparesis, which is basically where you end up in the hospital because your stomach is slowed down to the point that it doesn't work anymore, right? They might need to do surgery. This is again less than 0.5%. They did a study. Blindness was a thing people were worried about. Hey, I have this blindness. Well, in February, they came out with this massive study, 300,000 people, and they showed there is no increased risk for blindness for being on a GLP-1. So the risk factors of this, oh, and also we should also talk about the thyroid cancer, which we haven't seen thyroid cancer yet in patients. It's another big one. Black box warning, thyroid cancer. In rodents, we see it. Rodents have 3 times the uptake that humans do for the GLP-1s. So we do believe that the rodents are going to have a higher risk of this, and we haven't seen it yet. Look, we've had GLP-1s out since 2007. They've existed for almost 20 years now. We have 18 years of experience, and we haven't seen this increased risk of thyroid cancer either.
And
Now,
it's not just thyroid cancer, it's medullary thyroid
thyroid, yes,
cancer, which is like
exactly.
2% of all thyroid cancers, right?
Yes, and we have to also remember all of these conditions we see are seen more in type 2 diabetics. Like this is who's getting this. So we have to also be careful of the population we're working with. These are the population of people that get these things, right? So there is a slight increased risk for patients getting diabetic retinopathy and having worsening vision. Why is that? In any type of improvements in glucose, it doesn't matter if you use metformin, insulin, whatever. Every patient that's diabetic and has diabetic retinopathy, if you fix their blood glucose, you actually can see negative feedback into this diabetic retinopathy. So people get worse vision. So it's not that semaglutide or tirzepatide make this happen. It's the same outcome for anything you do to improve blood sugar in these patients. So I want to tell people over and over again, the risks that you're going to see are small. It is awful. If you get this to happen, it's not great. I think I've had one well, I have. I've had one single patient that's gotten pancreatitis since I started using GLP-1s, thousands of patients now. And the patient's doctor actually called me and said, I don't think it was related to GLP-1 exactly. I think there are other factors involved. So even the doctor, which let me tell you, medical doctors love to throw me under the bus. I mean, love it. Like I'm giving hormones out, I'm giving peptides out. They love to put me under the bus. This is like a great thing. They think I'm just crazy. So for a doctor to say, I don't think it's a GLP-1, this is not your fault. I was like, oh my God, what? Can you say it louder? Someone in the back didn't hear you. Can I record this? He got on the phone and said, I don't think this was related. I think this patient, he has a high, he drinks a lot of alcohol. If you drink a lot of alcohol, pancreatitis is a more risk factor. He had type 2 diabetes. So he had these risk factors to start with, and the guy, the doctor was saying, "Hey, I don't think it's a risk factor for this." Now, can you go back on a GLP-1 if you have pancreatitis? I've had patients have. I had another person I met wasn't my patient, but had a gallbladder attack. I would say likely no. I would probably stay away from it once you've had pancreatitis or you've had a reaction from a GLP-1. Do see patients that get an allergic reaction. Again, 2 patients in thousands have had an allergic reaction. I've switched them to a different GLP-1 and they were just fine. So if you have an allergic reaction or something negative happens to you, you have medical gastroparesis and your stomach slows down to the point you need surgery, maybe this is not the right therapy for you. Again, there are lots and lots and lots of things out there that people take that even natural, and even sometimes people take natural things and they have reactions to it. So we have to remember there is nothing out there that's completely 100% safe. We want to do risk reward, and the risk reward benefits from GLP-1s from using these things are incredibly high towards the reward and very low towards the risks. Again, we're talking about 0.5% and below for some of these risks. And they're happening more in diabetics, not in you and me and the regular people who are probably taking this just for weight loss.
I'm going to just spend a couple more minutes giving you the questions that I get all the time, and I want
Okay.
to ask
Yeah.
you. The next question that everyone asks, do I have to stay on these medications for the rest of my life? How do you answer that?
I mean, do you want to feel great the rest of your life? I don't. Yeah, I'm sure. Um, no, ideally, no. Right? We said this, training wheels. You put the training wheels on the bike, you get to where you want to go. Our goal while we're on these things is to start rewiring our brain. GLP-1s can work on dopamine. They can work on rewiring the way you see food if you are doing it correctly, right? For me, I'm counseling patients. You have to do some kind of exercise. I'm sorry. If you're human and you're alive and you have the ability to exercise, you should be doing it. This is the number one thing for me. You don't want to lose muscle mass. Every single person's question, probably after this, is, am I going to lose muscle mass? What am I going to do about this? You need to exercise. So if we put a strong foundation in for patients, which is going to be exercise, and for me, it's a higher protein diet. I'm not saying you eat just the mass amounts of protein. I want my patients to eat around zero point 0.8 to 1 milligram of protein per pound of ideal body weight. It's ideal. So if you're looking for a 20-pound weight loss, that's 20 pounds below what you're going for to have the ideal amount of protein at zero point 0.8 to 1 gram. Now, these things being put in place are going to really help the patients when they come off the GLP-1. If they've looked at their diet and they start making changes, again, now they've had this addiction pathway stop. Dopamine pathways have changed. If you have 100 days coming off of a craving, you stop eating sugar, for example, this is what we all eat, processed foods, bunch of sugar, high fructose corn syrup. This is what a lot of people are eating. If you can take 100 days and reduce these cravings with GLP-1s, you have retrained the brain, which means when you come off, you're less likely to want these things when you come off. Not that life doesn't happen and people don't go back to binging because something bad happens and stress in your life. I mean, this is like real life. But if you stick to what you were doing and what your program is, which is, hey, I need to eat more protein and I need to start exercising more. No, this is not lifelong. In our patient population, we don't see people coming back and saying, hey, it's been 6 months. I put on 20 pounds again. Can we get back on this? It's not what I see. I had a patient, I think just yesterday. Hey, it's been 2 years since I've been on semaglutide. I think he had lost 40 pounds with me. I put 5 pounds back on. Can we do this again? Yeah, absolutely, sure. But I'm also like, what happened? Why did you gain the weight again? What did we miss on the counseling side that I missed that had you happen? He's just like, life happened. I got really stressed and, something happened. I don't know if it was his dog died, I can't remember what it was. Something died in his family. Could have been dog, could have been a family member. I'm not sure. Stress went up. And he noticed himself overeating again. He's like, oh my God, I'm gonna get back on the semaglutide. I know how much it helped my ability to keep my food cravings down and also change my reward pathways. So the people I keep on long term are doing it for longevity. They're doing it because they want to keep their inflammation down. They want to help reduce their cravings. It's the reason I take it long term. But no one out there do I want to think they need to be on this forever to keep the weight off. We cannot permanently keep our bodies in caloric restriction by suppressing appetite. That is not realistic. And even the studies show this. There's a max weight loss with this. So you cannot constantly suppress the appetite. You will get used to this suppression and it won't work. So when you do want to go back to use this stuff again, it won't work as effectively if you've just been using it for months and months and months to keep your weight off by suppressing your appetite. Again, this is why we move to microdosing and very low dosing, because those microdosing can still improve the dopamine reward system, but also won't work at that appetite suppression.
Okay, last question. What's the difference between research grade peptides, compounded, and what's available, the branded medications? What's
Yeah,
the
okay.
difference?
Well, Ozempic has propylene glycol in it, which is banned in the UK, so it is not good for us. Um, so that automatically takes Ozempic off the market or Wegovy off of any of my patients' ideas. I'm like, this is not something I'll ever give a person with this
Can
stuff
you
in there.
explain why propylene glycol is not good for you?
Yeah, I mean it's cancerous. We don't want that. So I mean it is again, other countries have banned it because it is bad for our bodies. It's like the reason why we're taking out all the dyes out of food now. If you haven't looked and seen Kellogg's and all these food companies are now reversing their stance. Oh my gosh, people don't want to have this in there. It's poison.
Mhm.
And it's taken a long time. Unfortunately, in the United States, we allow a lot of things through. And what is most of the stuff in the medications, they're fillers, they're considered GRAS, which basically just means the company said it's safe, so you can take it. The company said that the company who makes it says it's safe, you can take it. What reason does the company have to say it's safe? Well, they're selling the product. Of course they're going to say it's safe. Oh, we think it's safe. You're totally fine. That's how the FDA has relied on companies, is the companies just say, yeah, we did studies, it's safe, you totally can use it. Unfortunately, companies have an incentive, which is money. And if they add fillers that aren't healthy for us, these fillers are just easier to use. It's just cheaper for them to put this in than something else. So I'm not a fan of Ozempic for the very least for that. I
You put your patients on compounded versions,
Correct.
correct?
Yes, I use compounded only. Yes, let me be very clear. Compounded medications are where it's at. These online research companies, what we fear with them is they're not being tested. So most of these things are coming from China. I can't say everything's from China, but a lot of these things are coming from China,
These
and
are
they're
research grade you're
research
talking
grade,
about.
correct. Research grade, correct. Research grade peptides are coming from China. They are not tested. The lab might be they're tested, right? Again, this is the thing. The lab is self-testing. Well, in fact, I just talked to a guy who owned a peptide lab in the United States, and he told me when before he started this company, he made an actual full lab. He actually had a couple of the Eli Lilly, not Eli Lilly, he had the Novo Nordisk peptide synthesizers. He actually bought them at auction. So he was making his own semaglutide on the synthesizers, which I thought was pretty ironic. He tested a lot of the product. that he was getting from China. He said 70% of the batches he was getting weren't what they say they were. We also look for bacteria. So there's bacteria that's not being tested for. Also, thing we have in there is called lipopolysaccharides or LPS, endotoxins. These are dangerous. They increase the risk of Alzheimer's. They can make you really sick. We do not like LPS. It is very, very, very bad. It's not being washed out and cleaned for most of these peptide companies that are selling from overseas. So, and even peptide companies that are in the United States, this guy, he did his due diligence when he started this lab. He tested the top 10 vendors in the United States, and he said only one of them passed the testing requirements. So now you have one company out of God knows how many in this. And he didn't tell me which one it was. I can't even come back and report who it was that was making this stuff in like a way that might be safe. So this is Russian roulette, and you just want to take that and spin that wheel and see what happens. By all means, I tell patients all the time, you want to spin the wheel and find out. I used to be on the Reddit forums. I used to be down the deep hole of Reddit and write and respond back to these people. And I go on every so often to see peptides. And people will show these bottles. Hey, what's this little black thing floating around a bottle? What is this? Why is this cloudy? Why does this not look good? This happens regularly. I've also had patients who have gone online, bought the stuff, and did not get it sent to them. So when you work with a compounding pharmacy, um, if something happens to the product, for example, the batch is bad. I had this happen to a pharmacy about a year and a half ago. They were ordering from a supplier. They started sending this stuff out before they had got their testing complete. They'd sent everything testing, hadn't gotten back yet. And they've been using this company for a while. So they again had assumed the company was safe, it was effective. And they get back that the product has high levels of LPS, like 4 times what the company had reported. So it's unsafe. So all of a sudden, what the company does is recall everything. Recall all the product, let the patients know this is unsafe and to get it back. Now, again, it got through the door, don't get me wrong, but they had an entire batch they hadn't sent out still. They had a lot of product sitting there left over. So they alerted the patients and said, do not use this product. It's unsafe. Send it all back. And I did have a few patients who used it. They got hives at the spot. They were like, this doesn't work like it's supposed to. I mean, they had just sent the product out. So we're talking within 3 days of having this product sent out. So it's very quick on the spot to get it back. So when you work with the compounding pharmacy, if something happens, they're liable. You can call them, you can talk to them. When you work with a research company, everyone that got that product, too bad, good luck. Hope it goes well. You get really sick, something bad happens. Who cares? We aren't doing anything about it. I had another guy that told me he had gotten this was a while ago, a year, 2 years ago. The person had received semaglutide from some Chinese site, but it was supposed to be tirzepatide and was all labeled as tirzepatide. So if anyone out there has tried semaglutide or tried tirzepatide, the dosages is different, and also the reactions you get are quite different. So this guy started sending all this product out. Had no clue till patients are getting really, really, really sick from taking what they thought was tirzepatide at higher dosages, not realizing it was semaglutide, and all of a sudden well, who's responsible? No one. No one takes responsibility. Did he call the patients to let them know? No, he just did nothing. So the only people could find out is that they'd researched this on Reddit to find out what happened to this. Because what happened is some customers got it and then sent it to the lab to get tested and they're like, oh no, this is a different product. So we see that happening too. So I do tell people compounded is the safest way to go outside of, whenever you can get pharmaceutical, which again, propylene glycol is a problem for me. Again, it's also way more expensive to get it from, the manufacturer. So I do recommend compounded. I think it's very safe. Depending on the pharmacies that you work with, they have great products. There's great testing in there. All these companies are inspected by the FDA. There's a lot of, information that has to go through. So like you can't get a safer product. Research grade, again, there's a lot of people doing this now. It's cheap, which is why people go to it. I get it. Like the expense of being compounded and having someone to work with, it is a fee. But I want to warn people, would you rather have safety? You're already worried about GLP-1s in general. Like people are already scared of this stuff. And you want to take an even bigger safety risk and get something that could cause a problem. Now, maybe if you got something happened to you, an adverse reaction, you wouldn't know. Is it because I took this peptide specifically? Am I allergic to it? Something happened to me? Or did I get it from a research company and this research company did not do the due diligence and it's not the product I thought it was, or it had bacteria in it, or God knows what else. So I am a very big believer of compounding pharmacies all the time.
And not only that, I have a buddy that started this company called Fineric, where they do free third-party testing of different research-grade peptides. He started this just for patient safety, actually. And he was saying, besides sterility and all these things, first of all, when they give an A to a a research grade peptide site. He's like, that's the equivalent of a D actually. But he's like, if we give everyone a D and an F, then we would never have A's. So it's really bad. But he was also saying another problem is when you test the same concentration, you get inconsistencies by a lot. The variance is very, very high. So this one's like 3 milligrams, this one's 8, this one. So as a patient, you really never know how to dose yourself
Yeah.
properly. So there's a lot of issues. Thank you for touching on that because this is a question we get all the time. And there's a lot of patients that jeopardize and risk their own safety and health for a cheaper peptide. And I get it, just like you said.
I get it's cheaper, right? You and
Right.
I understand it health in this way in this life right now is not it's expensive. And I want to liken everyone to understand the way insurance works. Insurance is exactly like car insurance. Car insurance is not going to cover your brake pads or your windshield wipers. But let me tell you, if you're in a rainstorm and those things fail on you and you didn't replace them and you get in a car accident, now insurance kicks in. Great. You're about to die, you had a car accident, everything's covered now. Don't worry, guys, you are safe because your insurance kicked in. But they're not going to cover the things that prevent you from getting there. Insurance is not covering what prevents you from actually having disease. We call primary care physicians because they're preventing disease. Maybe a little bit. Blood pressure meds and things can help a little bit. But a lot of these things we do for patients right now that we're seeing using the GLP-1s, a lot of people aren't getting insurance to cover using it for metabolic disease. Unless you have type 2 diabetes or you have obesity going on, you're not getting it. But there's a whole group of people that are below this level that aren't qualifying for these things, or they have these things and they still don't qualify. And God love how many people get so frustrated with insurance companies because, like, I know this will help me. I've had type 2 diabetics come in, like, I know this will help, but my insurance will not cover it. I'm really sorry. That sucks ultimately. I feel bad. And so I get it, it becomes expensive. And they're like, this should be covered. I'm like, yeah, I agree. Just like, insurance companies for your car should cover your brakes and windshield wipers because they don't want you to get in an accident because it's a lot more expensive for them. But unfortunately, that's not how insurance works. So it's very similar to how your car insurance works. It does get expensive. I understand. But healthcare, when you want to feel better in the health industry, it costs some money. And that's just ultimately how it works. Even when we do hormones with patients, the ranges of hormones are very, very, like 95% of people fit in this hormone range, and only 2.5% of the top and bottom cut out. That doesn't mean 95% of people feel good. That just means you're in the range and you're not going to get treated. So you can feel like crap and be inside this hormone range and still need to be put on some kind of hormone therapy. It's the same way with blood sugar. Your blood sugar gets to 5.9 hemoglobin A1C and you're on pre-diabetes. They're going to wait till you get diabetes before they say, yeah, we're going to cover that now. They're going to wait till it actually happens.
Mhm.
Why not now? Why not stop it before it gets there? Like it's just a little irritating.
Well, I guess with your health, you either pay now or later, and
Exactly.
you don't want it to be later because that one's going to be a hard fix. So it's better to pay for maintenance while you're not there yet. So
Yeah.
let's shift gears and start talking about other peptides that pair really, really well with
Yep.
GLP-1s. What do you like to recommend to your patients? Okay, we talked about this briefly last week. So now I've been on GLP-1s. I'm starting to lose weight. I feel great. My weight's going down. Now I want to what else can I do?
Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
where do you want to start? Okay.
So many things you can do. So many things. I know EllieMD just brought in testosterone. So I mean, I know this is a great product. For everyone out there that's worried about the muscle mass loss or has been on GLP-1 and felt they lost the muscle, I can't I cannot say enough. Testosterone can bring that back. It can help hold muscle mass while you go down. It's a growth hormone releasing hormone and growth hormone releasing peptide. Let's just start there. These are things. Growth hormone goes down as we age. By the time you hit 60, you're at 10% of the growth hormone you were making at puberty. So in your 30s, you start losing 15% a decade and it just goes down. The only thing you can do is help improve these levels by either giving growth hormone back, which I don't like to do, or giving the growth hormone releasing hormone and growth hormone releasing peptide to signal your body to make more, right? Most of us would rather give the signaling thing to make more of it. It's a lot safer. You can use it long term. You can be on this stuff long term than giving just growth hormone. So when we improve growth hormone, we're going to basically improve all the things growth hormone does. What does growth hormone do? Increase muscle mass, increase fat loss, increase brain function. It's going to work on improving sexual function, immune function gets better, repair gets better, skin, hair, nails gets better, sleep. The biggest thing is sleep. Everyone comes back saying, I'm sleeping better. This is really great. Now, again, I'm focusing on the fat loss and muscle gain because this is something we're pairing with GLP-1s. We're already talking about GLP-1s. This is a great addition to your GLP-1. It is going to really help hold that muscle mass. So for anyone that is worried, I'm losing muscle mass, what can I do? Testimonial ipamorelin. The other option is sermorelin. So we have sermorelin, we have testimonial ipamorelin. Testimonial ipamorelin is the big dog in the room. It is the best of the best. It's top tier. Sermorelin still does something. Don't get me wrong. You can put them on sermorelin. We do have patients on that, on the GLP-1s. It does preserve muscle mass better than doing nothing. So my goal of any patient on a GLP-1 is preserve as much muscle mass as possible, burn as much fat. And by pairing that with something like a GHRH or GHRP, like sermorelin or tesmorelin, ipamorelin, I'm able to do that for patients. And then also, who doesn't want to just feel better overall, right? When you improve growth hormone, everyone, when you starts getting older, if you get into your 40s and 50s, you see sleep goes down. Sleep is like one of the biggest things. You see deep sleep going down. You're not waking up rested anymore. It's because sleep quality changes. And growth hormone goes down, and then sleep quality gets worse. So we can give growth hormone back, and we can improve sleep in patients. So now you have a better job losing weight because your sleep is better. If you aren't sleeping, you start having cortisol rises. What does cortisol do? Abdominal belly fat. So we start to have this belly fat go up. It's not going away because you're not sleeping well. So again, testimonial, ipamorelin, sermorelin can improve that. Testimonial is also the best at reducing visceral adipose tissue. So again, we're losing visceral adipose tissue. It's going to go down, and we do that as well with GLP-1s. They bring visceral adipose tissue down. It can do about 20% reduction of VAT, which is visceral adipose tissue. That's going to also help reduce your risk of any kind of diabetes, any kind of heart disease. Visceral adipose tissue is the fat around all of your organs. And that going down is massive. GLP-1s can help. You can go on testimonial and ipamorelin and help. They pair really well together. For anyone out there that might have something like fatty liver disease, which is, really not great, testimonial and ipamorelin works in that too. So GLP-1s do fix a lot of these things, and you can add a testimonial and ipamorelin and just see the improvements and just synergistically work together. So the growth hormone peptides and growth releasing hormones pair significantly well with your GLP-1s. Years ago, when I first started using hormones in practice on my mom, who I love, who's actually here today. It's her 80th birthday this weekend. So we're going out to take her out this weekend. And I will tell you that I have had her on peptides for years. And one of the first things that happened when I put her on the hormones is she felt good. And then we added in the growth hormone peptides. And I remember talking to her and saying, if I could do two things with patients, one of those two things would be adding growth hormone peptides. It's one of two things long term that I think every person should be using. I think hormones are great, and then secondarily growth hormone peptides. So that's sermorelin and testimonial ipamorelin. Those are the things we want to do. Now, one of the adverse effects that we see from these things, because I know everyone's like, what am I going to see? What should I be worried about? Water retention is typically number one. That is the biggest thing I see. Because we're using the peptides rather than growth hormone traditionally increases, or I guess it should decreases insulin sensitivity. So you basically move towards diabetes, prediabetes if you're on growth hormone in general. Now, GLP-1 is great. We can counteract that. We're giving one thing to counteract the other thing. We don't want to do that, right? We want something that's going to work better. So this is where the growth hormone peptides work better. They increase insulin sensitivity. So now you're helping improve your insulin sensitivity, which is going to reduce your risk of type 2 diabetes. So again, another good reason to be on the peptides versus growth hormone. Also, when you take the peptides, it is a double-edged sword. There is an increased risk of growing cancer if you have cancer. This is the big thing people understand. If you have the cancer already, NAD can make it grow. Peptides, like growth hormone peptides, can make it grow. Anything's going to be anabolic, which is more growth, is going to increase cancer. Thankfully, growth hormone peptides have the dual-edged sword where they can grow it if it's there. If it's not there, they can shut it down. Immune surveillance goes up. So if you don't have cancer, guess what? That testimonial sermorelin is reducing your risk of cancer. And again, you're already potentially on a GLP-1. You've used GLP-1s. GLP-1s, again, work on that upside. They're catabolic, meaning they're breaking things down. And again, those reduce the risk of cancer. So again, why am I putting people on these long term? Hey, guess what? I'm going to keep my GLP-1s, help keep my cancer levels down. If I use a testimonial and ipamorelin, I'm not increasing my cancer risk. I'm actually keeping that down further. But if somehow, God forbid, you get cancer, right? Like there's nothing out there permanently stops people from getting cancer. We can bring risk factors down. You might still get cancer. But if it starts to grow, that what we will see is that growth hormone peptides will increase potentially the growth. It'll be a faster growth. So again, not great if you have cancer. Wouldn't give it if you have cancer. I give a GLP-1 if you have cancer. Those are still great in cancer, but not like a sermorelin, ipamorelin, and tesmorelin
Jason, I was taking Tessa IPA for a week just to test it out, and immediately I felt so much better as far as brain fog goes, mental clarity, but my sleep, like that was something I noticed the first night. I slept like a baby. One thing I did notice was hunger, and my appetite shifted and changed. Can you talk about that? And someone asked, can you talk about timing Tessa IPA injections around food? Can you touch on
Sure.
that? Because
Yeah, of
that's
course,
something people will notice.
for sure. Okay, so testosterone, what we love about testosterone and ipamorelin is they do not increase cortisol and they do not increase prolactin, which can happen when you take some other growth hormone peptides. So cortisol, obviously very bad. We don't like cortisol. Stress hormone, not good. Um, ipamorelin is a growth hormone peptide. It works on ghrelin. Ghrelin is our hunger hormone. So testosterone has no increase in hunger at all. It's a growth hormone releasing hormone, no hunger increase at all. But the ipamorelin in some patients can increase hunger. So there is that small population that say, I am a little more hungry taking ipamorelin because it does work on ghrelin. Can I say it happens in everyone? No, really can't. But some people will come back and say, I'm a little more hungry, which is unfortunate, right? So, I mean, Sermorelin is your other option that doesn't increase hunger. So, like, that's a really good option. Maybe having a Testosterone by itself might be a really good option that maybe LEMD can consider. So they have one that does increase hunger. And I will tell you, the reason we use testosterone and hormone together, the big reason, because people, hear hunger, oh my God, I don't want the mix. But they work better. They're synergistic. So when you get a growth hormone spike, the spike goes, it's like together. It's like a big push together and makes a bigger spike. Just testosterone by itself does spike growth hormone. It does spike really IGF-1. So IGF-1 levels go up about 100, 150. So like this is like the level we want you at as you get older. It does work well for that. But when you pair it with ipamorelin, you have the bigger spike. And when do we want the spike to occur? Typically before bed is usually the best time because if you do this before bed, this is one of our biggest spikes of the day is overnight. So if you increase the spike overnight, you'll get better sleep. You can do in the morning. I've done it in the morning as well. Some people, for some reason, say they have a paradoxical effect, meaning it does the opposite of what I expect. And they'll say, yeah, I actually can't sleep on that testosterone stuff. I can't sleep at all. I'm wired, which is great. They have a lot of energy. That's fine. Move it to the morning. They go to the morning like, oh my God, they fixed everything. I feel so much better and I'm sleeping great at night now. I'm like, great. Everyone's different. This is why it's called the practice of medicine because there is nothing that is 100% for everything. So, I would say at night is the best time. And again, no food at all before you take this, about an hour beforehand, and no food in half an hour after you take it. So if you're doing a morning dose, no food for half an hour after. If you're doing a night dose, no food an hour before you take it. So that would be what I'd use in patients myself. I personally use a 6 on 1 off dosing of testosterone. I know that LEMD right now is doing 5 on 2 off. They both work. They're both effective. There's nothing wrong with either one of the dosing protocols at all. Some people also do 4 weeks on and take a week off. So like the different dosing protocols are not going to change almost that much. Doing an extra day is not going to make a massive difference in my patients or how you feel in general. So I do tell people like the dosing protocols, again, as long as you're not doing it every single day and staying on it long term, that's where we see problems because it can shut down receptors. So I do tell patients don't do that unless you got to take breaks at some point, and the breaks are typically weekends to let your receptors reset.
Yeah, I'm on my second day off and I'm like, I can't wait to go back tomorrow because I slept like a baby. Those 5 days, I slept like a rock. And when I start back up, I think I'm going to pair it with a tirzepatide just to help with the hunger a little bit.
Hey, I
Um,
nothing wrong with it. Like I said, not everyone gets that. No, honey. Some people, I have a lot of patients. Like when I
what does
take
that say about me?
I don't know. It's just we need to talk outside of here and get. But I would say that the thing that I like about testominoprone is again because that spike is there, you have a better sleep. You have better muscle mass. You have better improvements in fat loss. Again, that spike does improve a lot of things. So if you're not getting that hunger, good for you. Awesome. Not everyone gets it. We use CJC ipamorelin a lot, which is not really available for most pharmacies right now. But that combo, again, because you add the ipamorelin, and anything that's going to add a growth hormone peptide is going to increase hunger because they work on ghrelin. So anything that works on ghrelin is going to potentially increase hunger. Ipamorelin is very mild, so it's a very mild increase, but in some people, it's worse than others. Again, I have patients who take this stuff and have no change in hunger at all. Many and most of my patients have no hunger increase. So I don't want them out there to think, oh my God, if I'm on this, I'm gonna get so hungry, put on this weight back on. Try it. You might not have anything at all. And then I think that, we're going to talk about having some kind of just test run blend by itself so that you can have the no hunger for the people that really don't want the hunger increase. Again, I want to say trying the blend first is probably a better option because you have such a better result from the two together. But again, if it does increase hunger, there will be, I'm sure, potentially down the pipeline, some formulation by itself that we can get to people.
Amazing. We have 10 minutes left. I want to touch on NAD because
Okay.
NAD is another great one that pairs well with GLP. So, can you talk to us? What is NAD? What does it do? How can it help us? And why does it pair so well with GLPs?
So nicotinamide adenosine dinucleotide, NAD, is a B vitamin derivative. Comes from niacin. So if anyone out there has ever had niacin by itself, you get a nice niacin flush, real hot, red in the face, you feel awful. NAD does the same thing. Pretty great. You get the same kind of flush. You get the same kind of shortness of breath. Is that bad and scary? No, not at all. Super safe. Now, NAD is a B vitamin. It is the last cofactor needed to make ATP, which is energy at the cell level. We need NAD as a substrate to make all the cell energy we have. And as we age, NAD levels consistently go down. Unfortunately, these bodies break down. I don't care how you cut it, what you do. As far as I know, no one's living to 300 years right now. Maybe in the future we'll have some more cool stuff. But what we have available is pretty interesting. NAD does a really good job improving longevity. People typically feel more energy. Their brain works better. We see improvements in the immune system. We see improvements in DNA repair. We see more fat oxidation, more fat burn. So again, how's it pair with something like a GLP-1? Well, you have more energy. When you have more energy, you're going to do more things. Some people, when they get on the GLP-1s, they'll come and say, I'm a little more tired. I don't feel like I did. Why? Because you're eating less food. When you get into that calorie deficit, some people get a little tired from that. You add NAD in, you're back out running around doing the things you want. You want to burn more fat. You want to have your detox pathways happen because NAD helps work on the detox pathways. Guess what? Now we can give a NAD product to someone on GLP-1 that is not detoxing very well. When you are going to be burning fat down, the main thing that happens is your body has to break down the toxins. All of your toxins are stored in fat. If you want to break the fat molecules down, the toxins come out, they have to go somewhere. Your liver has to process them. So there's two great things we use. One is glutathione, which I know also EllieMD has, and number two, NAD. I prefer NAD over glutathione in general, just because there's so many more benefits from NAD than glutathione. Glutathione's still a great product, not hating on it, but I see more results from NAD. I put patients on NAD, they get too stuck at a weight loss plateau, and all of a sudden the weight just drops back down.
Mm.
So I can't say enough good stuff. Really, energy, brain fog. We see improvements in mood, improvements in neurotransmitters, serotonin. So NAD has a massive amount of things. It also brings inflammation down. You pair with the GLP-1, inflammation comes down even further. So now we're working on the inflammation side. We're working on that fat burn side. We're working on energy. So all of these things pair, right? And if anyone had a limited budget, I start pairing these things left and right. Because when you say these things, everyone's like, I want all of these things at once. And you look at this stuff and you're saying, well, what is it? What should I be doing these things? I love telling people NAD is great. I think NAD is one of the best things. Sub-Q NAD is phenomenal. There are oral products. There is oral NAD. It's about 20% effective. Don't want something that only works 20% of the time. I have to take a lot of it to get to where I want to be. There's NMN, which is nicotinamide mononucleotide, and nicotinamide riboside. These are both oral products. They're precursors. They will raise your levels of NAD. Unfortunately, they don't work as well. When you've taken NAD, if anyone out there has tried NAD sub-Q injections, there is a giant energy bump. I can tell you now, I've had patients on NMN, NR, and NAD oral, and they have not seen that much benefit yet. That doesn't mean it's not doing something. It makes maybe makes your skin, hair, nails grow. That's something NAD can do. People talk about that. So it is good for collagen. But that also happens when you take the NAD injections. And the NAD injections are the creme de la creme. I think it's the top of the top of the way to get NAD. I think the IVs are worthless. I had a patient yesterday I was talking to. He has 1,000 employees. He has a giant company. Does this guy have hours to sit with an IV? No, he does not. He's not going to sit for 4 hours to get an IV. That's a typically like at least twice a month IV. He wants something he can do on the go. And what's so great about peptide medicine and all the things that you're providing that are offered is these things can be done at home. You don't have to walk into a clinic. You don't have to sit there and deal with, just driving there, getting and doing the stuff. You can do this all at home, which is why NAD for me is one of the top things I can use in practice. I can get energy, I can help with repair, I can help with immune system, I can help with mood. I mean, with detox pathways, it is just like thing after thing after thing NAD can be used for, and it is constantly going down. How long do I use it for? How long do you think you're going to live? I mean, how long do you want to take it for? Is it going to cause cancer? No. Will it grow cancer? Yes. Just like I said, with the growth hormone releasing hormones, growth hormone releasing peptides. If you don't have cancer, it works the immune system. It improves immune surveillance. So it will stop cancer from growing potentially if it's already growing. But if you have something that gets past immune surveillance, then yeah, NAD is going to grow it. So I do tell patients, and again, there's no way to know. There's Gallery testing, there's Pronovo. There are things you can do to test. Unfortunately, these things are not 100% accurate. So there is nothing that's 100% going to guarantee you do not have cancer growing in your body. It's just not a way for us to definitively say that to anyone. Lab work is a great way to look at. You can start with lab work, but even with lab work, not everything's caught. So people freak out. And I always say, hey, the median age of cancer is 66. Like most people happens when you're older, right? So our younger patients, it isn't likely, and cancer is not something that happens to everyone. So I do caution patients to say, hey, I know everyone has this worry. No one wants cancer, and no one wants to grow it. I will say it doesn't cause cancer. There's no increased risk of cancer, but again, potentially growth can occur from taking, the growth from releasing hormones and peptides, and even from NAD.
I just had a text message that came in and said, "Can you ask Jason what his stack looks like, what he's using? Can you share with
People
us
are
your
privately texting you right now. They're not in the chat. Oh, how dare they? How dare they? What are you
I'm
doing,
getting
people?
this.
She's looking through all the messages right now. She's reading every message you're saying,
I
everyone.
know
She's
there's
reading
just
every
so
single one.
many. Gosh, I can't even get through any of these.
Um,
But what are
my
you
stack.
using? We want
Yeah,
to
so
know.
my
We want to
stack.
look and feel as great as you.
Yeah.
You've been doing this for long enough. What are you
My
using?
my my days are filled with 2-day workouts. So come join, please. I have a Pilates yoga studio in Chicago, open a gym next month. Please come hang out. I do a lot of exercise. Um, I have semaglutide as one of my staples. I am also cycling between testosterone and ipamorelin. So I use the combo. It doesn't really increase my hunger. And I cycle between that and something called IGF-1 LR3, which is basically what testosterone and ipamorelin is trying to turn on IGF-1. That's like the ultimate goal with using these things. Growth hormone goes to the pituitary, goes to the liver, and turns on IGF-1, which is ultimately what makes all these great things happen, such as muscle gain, fat loss, brain, all this stuff. So I take that. I'm also on daily tadalafil, so that's daily Cialis. I give that to my men and my women, and it reduces the risk of stroke and heart attack mortality rates by 40%, up to 40%. So I want to live longer. I don't want to die. I'm going to take that for the rest of my life. Also increases brain function, increases performance in the gym. It makes me really veiny, which I love, and then increases sexual performance in both men and women. So it's a no-brainer for my patients. We're also using
Which, by the way, we have in our thrill pill. So if you guys are
there you
interested,
go. Love it. There you go. Another EllieMD product that I'm gonna love. Yeah, I mean, daily tadalafil is something that I recommend. There's literally companies that just do this. I think Blue Chew is one that literally just does Cialis. That is all it does. And yeah, it's great for sexual function in men, but my God, you live longer and you live better. So automatically to people that are worried about heart
and
disease.
in women, in
Women
both.
too, same thing, same thing. It's going to make you live longer, better sexual function. Women say better orgasms, more blood flow to the pelvic region, so less painful sex. Like it does a lot of great things for women. It is the exact same thing for men and women. I use the same dosing. It's going to do the same thing for women as it does for men. A few adverse effects. You might have some vision changes, some low back pain. It's not because the pill's doing it or what you're giving is doing it. When it increases blood flow, some of that vessels might be lying up against some kind of nerve that's just anatomy. And because that might pressure on the nerve a little bit, changing vision or changing like low back pain. Some people get dizzy, they get headaches because again, it's the pressure of the veins going larger. Not really, if you stop, it goes away right away. So I do that. I also use BPC 157 right now and GHKCU. And then I'm cycling currently right now thymosin alpha 1, which is an immune modulating peptide. But yeah, I take a few things, but semaglutide and the GHRH and GHRPs, those are like my staple. Like I will not come off them. My mom is here this weekend. It's so funny. I love her to death. And she was just telling me how she went on a trip. I think she went on a cruise for a month. And she I didn't bring my stuff with me. I didn't take anything. She did take her GLP-1, I'll tell you that. She is a small woman. She's about 120 pounds, but she loves her GLP-1 because she goes on a cruise. She's like, I don't want to eat. I don't want to have my appetite up like stupid cruise. All the food's there. So she takes that with her, but nothing else. And she comes back and she's like, I didn't realize how much this stuff helped me till I came back and got back on it. Because when I came off, the stuff slowly comes out of you. GLP-1s take 5 weeks to leave your body. So it's in your system for quite some time. So, and then growth hormone peptides, she got off those and took a while for her to feel a difference. So she gets back, she's like, I don't feel terrible. Then she starts everything again and she's like, oh my God, why do I not do this? Why am I not taking this stuff all the time? So these stacks we talk about, I also take NAD, by the way, about 3 to 4 days a week as a pre-workout. So I don't do caffeine. I just take my NAD, which is a great thing to do. And sometimes I take
Why do you
nothing.
take BPC and GHK? Sorry, can you just quickly?
Oh yeah, BPC is going to repair all my repair stuff. So I mean, again, working out twice a day. If I don't do something to keep my body going at 40, I will very much fall apart. I have come off BPC, and it's not bad in the beginning, and then get back on. I'm like, oh my God, I'm not sore anymore. Why did I stop? I always forget. I just forget to reorder. That's ultimately what happens for most patients. They forget to reorder. Some people say, should I take a break on this? Most people in general accidentally take breaks by just not ordering in time. That is ultimate happens to most people. So I'm like, yeah, should take a break, but most of you forget to order anyway. So your break is like a week for being off. Who cares? So I'm off. I come off and on BPC, but just accidentally. And GHKCU is skin, hair, nails. So if you want to improve collagen and elastin, look younger, my hair grew thicker. It looks a lot better than it did, probably 5, 10 years ago. Skin is a lot better improved. I gotta say, GHKC is one of my favorites. So I do think that's a great product. And my women love GHKCU. They just absolutely say my skin, hair, nails is so much better than it was. I just love this stuff. So that's essentially my stack. I don't think I have anything else. I do cycle a few things throughout the year, but that's my staple.
Oh, I love it. Thank you. And we offer most of it. So
Good, good.
I hope
Maybe
you
get
were
the rest of it
taking
at some
them.
point.
We probably, yes, we will. We'll bring the rest. But thank you so much. Where can we find you? I would love everyone to follow you on Instagram because you have the best videos and they're just broken down in layman's terms that people can
Yeah.
understand and share. So can you share with us where we can find you? And I hope you can come back
Of
again.
course, of course. Well, I'm going to come back next week, I believe. I think next Wednesday I'm scheduled to talk to you
We got
again.
to get you
So
on payroll
I
at
will
this
be back here.
point.
Dr. Dr. Perry Jason Dr. Perry Jason Pencek is my Instagram. Dr. Thirst Trap is my TikTok, which I don't use, so don't worry about that. And I am speaking next month in Cancun at a stem cell conference. I think I have like 3 or 4 hours they gave me in Cancun to talk about whatever I want, just peptides basically. So I can rant for hours, which is so exciting. An hour is not enough.
Oh, Dr. Jason, thank you so, so much. Someone wrote this was the best call yet. One of the best calls yet. Thank you, Dr. Pensek. Thank you again. Thank you, all of you, for tuning in tonight and
Brenda,
educating
you posted my TikTok. Thank you, Brenda. I really appreciate that.
Dr.
Appreciate you.
Thirst Trap. Make your day. Well, thank you again. I know you're going to join us again next week. I love
I
this.
am.
We're
I'm
getting
actually heading to Michael Jordan's house right now. There's a party I got invited to, so I'll be heading there for the next couple hours.
oh,
So I'm
gee,
super excited. I
how
had a
do
great
we
time
get
for
that
this though.
invite?
You're welcome to come join. How many hours before you get here, honey?
No, I can't. But next time I'll
Next
come
time.
hang out
Next
with you,
time.
Michael Jordan. MJ. Well, thank you so, so much for joining us. Dr. Jason, thank you, thank you, thank you for taking time out of your busy day to educate our community. And thank you, all of you, for tuning in and learning more. We're going to have this on YouTube and all different formats. Brenda's going to put it out. So if you missed it, if you're potential, anyone else in your family or circle needs to hear this, please share this with them. Thank you again. Have a wonderful night, everyone. We'll see you next week. Thank you. Mwah. Good night.
Bye.